Thanks for joining us. I'm Brad Smith, Microsoft's president, and today is an important day for all of us who work at Microsoft. Today, we're launching a global initiative to bring digital skills to 25 million people around the world by the end of this year. This work has been months in the making, but with COVID-19, a huge economic recession, we think that this kind of work is needed now more than ever. Now, typically we would have a live event. We'd have people in the audience to launch this type of thing. But of course, we're living in a different time. So come on in and I'll show you how we're going to do this. Today, we're at Microsoft Studios. It's a building on our Redmond campus that has sound stages, broadcast facilities, control rooms. This is where we do a lot of work as a company for live and recorded events. Today, there's not as many people here as there might be on most days. We're working with a skeleton crew. Everybody's socially distanced, except for me. Everybody's wearing a mask because I'm on camera. But the main thing is what we want to share. We think that the world needs new steps to help people get back to work, to find new jobs and do it all safely. So let's get started. Come on in and join me in the control room as we get this kicked off. This is where our team is producing the event, including Rick and John, who you see here. And what better way to kick all of this off than to turn to Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella. Satya?
Thanks, Brad, and welcome. Before we start, I want to address a topic that is front and center for us as a society: racial injustice and inequity. There's absolutely no place for hate, bias, or racism in our world. The cracks of injustice and inequity in our society hinder progress for everyone and call on us to act. Last week, we announced a multi-year sustained approach to address racial injustice focused on our culture at Microsoft, our ecosystem, and our communities. Change begins by looking inward. It's what our employees, customers, and partners expect from us and what the world demands. We are committed to doing our part and acting with intention. Today, I want to focus on another source of inequity and what we are doing about it. COVID-19 has created both a public health as well as an economic crisis. As we move from the initial emergency response phase to the recovery phase to the reimagine phase, determining what should be rebuilt, what should be redefined, we need to ensure that no one is left behind and address the needs of those most impacted by this crisis. For us, this starts with reflecting on the role of a corporation to create profitable solutions to the problems of people and planet. At Microsoft, we're focused on empowering every person, including the more than 1 billion people with disabilities, every worker, knowledge workers, first-line workers, every business, small or large, every industry from agriculture to retail, every community, rural or urban, every country, developed or developing. Everywhere we look, we see relentless ingenuity and drive. People are contributing in new ways, in essential roles, which have been overlooked and undervalued to keep our society and economy functioning amidst this pandemic. And during this time of change, people are hungry to learn, gain new skills, and grow their economic opportunity. It's been forecast that 800 million people need to learn new skills for their jobs by 2030. COVID-19 has made the skills gap even more acute. It's exacerbating economic inequity. People of color, people with disabilities, women, early in career workers, and those who have less formal education are bearing the brunt of this unemployment crisis. For those who still have jobs, it's changing not only how they work, but what they work on. Every job will increasingly require digital skills. In the next 5 years, nearly 149 million new tech jobs will be created in fields like software development, cybersecurity, and machine learning. Talent is everywhere, but the opportunity is not. Over and over again, we see that when people have access to education and skilling, they create new economic opportunity for themselves as well as their communities. Take Tiara Phillips, a phone support worker in Chicago. After being laid off, her first concern was providing for her 2 children. She trained as a cloud support specialist, knowledgeable in Microsoft SQL, and is now employed full-time.
Having those tech skills, I am better prepared to go into any field or any job that I decide to.
Take Diana Cohn, a visual artist and a mother in Pasadena, California. After hearing loss, she needed an accessible tool to learn new skills. With LinkedIn Learning courses, she was able to start and grow her own design business.
I never thought a busy mom like me could switch careers so quickly, but I did.
And Yassine Souki in Paris, France, who after the death of his father had to provide for his family. After enrolling in our AI school, he found a new career as a data scientist.
To me, it's exciting to learn every day new things, new technologies, and I'm like a newborn.
As a platform and tools company, our identity is rooted in empowering people like Tiara, Diana, and Yassine. And over the last few months in particular, we have seen people around the world turn to our platforms to learn new skills. We create technology so that others can create more technology. And our partner ecosystem employs more than 17 million people doing just that. Microsoft Learn helps anyone obtain certifications in our technology, and the usage was up 475% in the month of May compared to a year ago. LinkedIn is the world's largest professional network. With LinkedIn Learning, anyone can access more than 16,000 online courses, from how to manage compassionately to basic Python. In May alone, people watched 382% more hours of content than they did a year ago. And GitHub is the home to more than 50 million developers. GitHub's Learning Lab provides hands-on tutorials for both aspiring as well as experienced developers. In May, usage was up 900% year over year. But we know we can and must do more. That's why we are bringing together these assets to reimagine how people learn and apply new skills to help 25 million people who have lost their jobs due to COVID-19 acquire digital skills for jobs of the future. There are 3 pillars to our approach. First, we've used data from the LinkedIn Economic Graph, which is a digital representation of the global economy, to identify the 10 most in-demand jobs like IT technician, data analyst, and customer service specialist. And we're launching free learning content from across Microsoft, inclusive of LinkedIn and GitHub, for these roles, which anyone can access in multiple languages. Second, we will match people's skills to the right jobs. We're providing access to low-cost certification and free job-seeking tools. And we're partnering with nonprofits to provide additional support for those who need it most, including people with lower income and people of color. And third, acquiring new skills doesn't stop when someone gets a job. Just like every company today has a system of engagement with CRM or a system of record with ERP, they'll require a system of learning, creating a continuous feedback loop between the work, skills, and learning required to succeed at the task at hand and the credentials to accelerate career advancement. A new Microsoft Teams app will help organizations skill and upskill employees surfacing learning content in the context of their day-to-day work. By applying our technologies and partnering across the private and public sectors, we believe we can make progress in closing the skills gap. The novelist Doris Lessing once defined learning as being able to understand something you've understood all your life, but in a new way. It's this inherent capability within all of us that we want to unleash so collectively we can build a better future for everyone. And with that, I'll hand it over to Brad. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Satya. Anytime we launch an initiative like this, we always ask ourselves a critical question. What's the problem we're trying to solve? Well, in some cases, it's obvious. Look around the world today, and what we see is more people out of work since any time in the Great Depression in the 1930s. In fact, we estimate that in 2020, before this year comes to an end, we'll see almost 250 million people lose their job. It's a staggering number. In part, it's the obvious reaction to this pandemic, a pandemic that is unique in our lifetime. But it's about more than that as well. It's also the result of long-term trends in our economy, trends that have been unleashing more automation, automation that has been eliminating jobs that often involve more manual work and replacing them with jobs that are more digitally focused. Think about all of the jobs around us. Everywhere you look, you see that jobs are becoming more digital. Think about the work of a graphic designer. What used to happen on a piece of paper now is displayed on a computer screen. Think about people in the healthcare area. Think about the explosion in telehealth just over the last few months. That, we think, is never going to go back to the way it was before. Think about what it takes to work on a manufacturing floor in the world today. Manufacturers are digital workers. And think about the life of a teacher. Think about how dependent teachers have become on digital skills and digital tools. Even when kids are back in the classroom, we can expect more reliance on digital technology to continue. That's why we estimate as a company that by the middle of this decade, in the year 2025, we'll see the creation of 149 million new technology jobs. In many ways, these will be jobs that involve the creation of software, but they involve a whole lot more than that. It includes people who will be working with data, people who will be protecting cybersecurity, people who will be protecting privacy as well. Everywhere, in every company, on every continent, even in government itself, we'll see the need for people with new skills. But there's another problem that we have to help solve. If you look back over the last 20 years, employer investments in employee training have been declining. They first fell from the late 1990s to the year 2010, and then in the decade that we just finished, we really experienced a decade of stagnation, stagnating employer investments in employee training. So fundamentally, this asks us to ask ourselves, how do we turn this around? How do we help people develop the skills they'll need to succeed in the years ahead? It calls on a principled approach. And that's what we've been doing as a company. We've grounded our work, not just this initiative that we're launching today, but beyond, in 6 principles. It really starts by putting data and digital technology to work to help people develop new skills. The data can help us learn what skills people need, and the technology can help people acquire them. But it takes more than that. We're focused on a broad set of skills, not just digital skills alone. In part, we need to help people develop the skills to ensure that technology is used responsibly, that it's applied ethically, that it's deployed in a manner that protects people's privacy. And we need to help people develop the soft or so-called success skills that are essential for a world where people need to work with each other, and it's all about the success of a team. We need to couple that by asking employers to do more. Employers around the world will need to invest more in the training of their people. As an employer, that starts with Microsoft itself, and you'll see us take new steps in the months ahead. But more than that, we think our biggest contribution is in creating tools and technology that can help employers do more for their employees and do it more seamlessly, more effectively, more efficiently than they can today. All of this requires partnership. And so as part of this initiative, we're leaning on partners in a big way. A huge aspect of this is stronger partnerships with nonprofits in the United States and around the world, and a spirit of partnership to work with and support governments as well. Finally, this is an initiative that is pulling together every part of our company. It starts with LinkedIn, which is really the heart and soul of this work, but it combines LinkedIn's efforts with Microsoft Learn and with GitHub and the GitHub Learning Lab, and ultimately, it's about all of us working together in a new and important way. That's why what you'll see here today is a multifaceted approach to this initiative. It's an initiative that starts with data to identify the jobs that are in demand and the skills that are needed for them. It builds on that by providing people with access to learning content free of charge. And then it builds on that second piece with this third, access to low-cost, subsidized tests and certifications, and free job-seeking tools so people can close the loop and find the job that they'll need for a more successful future. To walk us through all of these pieces, I'm delighted to turn this over to Ryan Roslansky, the new CEO at LinkedIn. Ryan?
Thanks, Brad. Hi, I'm Ryan Roslansky, and I'm the CEO of LinkedIn. I couldn't be more honored to be here today to talk about our goal to bring digital skills to 25 million people. We're committed to helping those who have lost their job due to the COVID-19 pandemic get the new skills they need to land their next job. And the Microsoft ecosystem is uniquely positioned to help people connect opportunity. But finding opportunity isn't just about searching for a job. As Brad mentioned, job seekers and the government agencies who support them need the access to the data to help identify where employment opportunities exist, the accessible tools to effectively develop relevant skills, and the ability to demonstrate those skills to organizations who are hiring. In order to achieve our ambitious goal, we've created one place for people to go to, opportunity.linkedin.com. We've built this site by tapping into resources across the Microsoft ecosystem, from LinkedIn and LinkedIn Learning to Microsoft Learn to GitHub Labs. And we start this process by navigating the uncertainty as objectively as possible with insight into real-time skilling trends. And for that, we turn to LinkedIn. You may know LinkedIn is that app on your phone with your professional identity and community. But behind those profiles, companies, and connections is a real-time digital representation of the professional world, giving us insight into workforce trends and skills demand. By digitally mapping over 690 million professionals, 50 million companies, 11 million job listings, 36,000 skills, and 90,000 schools on LinkedIn, we're able to spot trends like in-demand skills, emerging jobs, and global hiring patterns. We call this the economic graph. These insights help us connect LinkedIn members to open opportunities. And we're excited to begin offering some of our labor market insights to policymakers and the public to help understand what jobs and skills are in demand per region. This labor market insights tool includes data on what companies are hiring, the top jobs companies are hiring for, and the skills needed for those jobs. The data is available and downloadable from more than 180 countries and regions, and you can access this tool at opportunity.linkedin.com. For example, the data shows us that a remote everything world has shined a light on the importance of both digital skills and soft skills. We've seen an increase in the need for digital skills, and it's being accelerated by the pandemic. Since March, web and video conferencing skills are up 525%, and Microsoft Teams as a skill is up 500%. Professionals are hungry to learn the latest ways to stay in touch with their colleagues, even while physically apart. On the soft skills front, we've seen the skills of collaboration and people management accelerate. Given the complex and challenging work situations that many of us are facing, it's no surprise that employers are looking for professionals to help them lead through change by sharpening critical soft skills. And also, as we work towards a more equitable future, professionals are more than ever investing in their own learning to understand and confront bias, communicate about topics of difference, and show up as allies to build a more inclusive workplace and society. Based on this data and these trends, we're making 4 learning paths from LinkedIn Learning available for free. LinkedIn Learning is our broad-based skilling platform with more than 16,000 video-based courses across business, technology, and creative topics, all taught by industry-leading experts. First, we have the Digital Fluency Learning Path. We are making it easy to learn video conferencing in Microsoft Teams, among other skills. Then we have the Critical Soft Skills Learning Path with content that helps improve communication and collaboration among teams. Next, we have a Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging path that also touches on some of those critical skills of communicating and understanding bias that help create inclusive work environments. And finally, we have a Job-Seeking Best Practices path to help job seekers prepare for roles in the digital economy and manage their job-seeking process more effectively. These learning paths are now available for free. The economic graph also gives us visibility into jobs that are most in demand globally. By looking at jobs that have the greatest number of openings, have had steady growth over the past 4 years, pay a livable wage, and require skills that can be learned online, we've identified 10 jobs that are accessible to those seeking employment, giving individuals and governments a compass for where to begin. Today, we're also making 10 LinkedIn learning paths aligned with these roles available for free. For example, check out the graphic designer path. Each learning path includes a sequence of video content aimed at helping individuals broadly develop the core skills needed for any given role. These learning paths are available in English, French, Spanish, and German. Given the rise in demand for skills, for digital skills especially, and for roles that are more technical in nature, we have Microsoft Learn that combines short step-by-step training with interactive coding and scripting to help learners go deep on Microsoft technologies. Microsoft Learn content also helps learners prepare for Microsoft certifications so they can gain industry recognition for their skills. Through the end of the year, we're significantly discounting the exams for these certifications for those impacted by COVID-19. And will also enable job seekers pursuing developer roles to access the GitHub Learning Lab to practice their skills. GitHub Learning Lab is a bot-based learning tool that uses repository to teach technology, coding, Git, and GitHub via real-life demo-based modules. This means that as job seekers engage in learning paths, they'll have the opportunity to practice newly acquired skills by completing realistic projects in a personalized GitHub repository. And using our free tools to learn is the most important part, but once you've learned those skills, we've made it simple for you to add them to your LinkedIn profile. This will help you be found by the millions of recruiters and hiring managers who are searching for talent on LinkedIn. And speaking of being found, I'm very excited we've launched our new feature called Open to Work. It harnesses the power of the LinkedIn community to help the large unemployed population that Brad talked about be found for work. Take Daisy, who's a LinkedIn member. She was just laid off her job as a customer success manager. She's discovered a way on LinkedIn to indicate to the community that she's looking for work. And once Daisy has this on her profile, a green circle appears to let her network know how to help her. Daisy can also proactively share with her network, and people can click to see what she's looking for and message her to offer support. And when job seekers get to that critical interview phase, we want to help them demonstrate their skills through effective interviewing. So we're offering free interview prep tools, including a newly launched feature leveraging Microsoft AI for real-time feedback on your answers. Take Michael, a job seeker who can now record a video of himself practicing an interview. Then in real time, he can get feedback on things like his speech patterns, the filler words he uses, and some tips to improve his answers. I am honored and excited to be part of this initiative and will continue to focus our team on those we can help. By working together and helping those whose jobs have been impacted by the COVID-19 economic crisis, we can make a difference right now in the workforce, in the economy, and in our everyday lives. There's perhaps no better way to bring to life the power reskilling can have on the world than with this video from one of our learners.
I have always been a visual artist. I was thinking of pivoting my career as the world around me became more digital. I wanted a way to learn that was accessible since I have hearing loss. That's when a friend recommended LinkedIn Learning. I immediately started taking courses, and with these skills, I was able to start a business venture that I'm really passionate about. I never thought a busy mom like me could switch careers so quickly, but I did, thanks to LinkedIn Learning.
To learn more about any of these features we just talked about, visit opportunity.linkedin.com. And now, Brad, back over to you.
Thanks, Ryan. As important as each of those pieces is, one of the things we recognize is that reaching 25 million people is not something that any company can do by itself. That's why we're also including another big piece of today's initiative. It involves expanded partnerships with nonprofits around the world. Nonprofits that will do critical work to work personally with individuals, oftentimes individuals that may need the help the most. They'll provide mentoring and counseling and other teaching and assistance. We're putting $20 million of cash grants to reach nonprofits in countries all around the world. Our work with nonprofits isn't just about numbers and countries. Fundamentally, it's about people. And I think the best way to understand this is to join the conversation we're having with two people. First, I want to invite Trevor Noah to join the conversation. Trevor, we've been so fortunate to work with you these past couple of years on a lot of nonprofit work. And one of the great things has been your own nonprofit, the Trevor Noah Foundation. I was with you 2 years ago in Johannesburg when you launched that at the New Nation School. Share just for a moment some of the work that you're doing to provide skills to the next generation of people.
Well, I will say, Brad, it's been an amazing journey for me because, we met organically in a conversation around technology and what it meant in my life. We met talking about my life, my book, and Microsoft in the journey that I had lived on the campus with you. And a few years later, we were in South Africa, not just giving kids the tools that they need physically to connect to a digital world, but we also gave them the tools that they need to actually understand the digital world. And I think that's always been my biggest passion, is connecting people with the information that they need and the skills that they need to actually use the tools that then keep them in the jobs that they then acquire. And I think that's oftentimes been the issue. I've always been a fan of metaphors and analogies, as you know, and I always say to people, people be like, teach a man to fish. And I go, yes, but you've also got to give him the fishing rod. And so I think combining those two elements together has really been important to me. And that's where I've loved the journey with Microsoft is, you guys helped us bring the fishing rods, and then you taught the people how to fish. And we've been able to use that to make fishers of men every single day. And that's been beautiful to see in kids in South Africa, seeing young children start off their life with all the tools that they need to have the best opportunity to succeed.
Well, what a great segue to the next person I want to introduce you to, Linda Edelman. Meet Linda. She's the CEO of Trust for the Americas. We've been working with her group for years across Latin America, across the Caribbean. Wanted to give the two of you an opportunity to talk a little bit about how the nonprofits are going to play such an essential role in all of this.
Well, thank you so much, Brad, and thanks for the opportunity to participate in this filming today. And thanks to Microsoft. We're celebrating our 15-year anniversary of working together with you to impact people in the hemisphere.
Wow, that's really amazing. Linda, I've had the opportunity, just in knowing Brad, to learn a little bit about your organization. But I'm always fascinated to understand the whys and the hows that bring people together. And I wanted to know from your perspective, why do you think it's so important for people to have the digital skills in this world today? I mean, it seems like an easy answer, but some would say, why? Why do you think this is one of the most important causes out there?
I think it's because jobs are changing and the jobs are consolidating and jobs are disappearing because of technological innovation. And we've seen with coronavirus and the economic crisis that has ensued that the trend is only accelerating. And many of the jobs that have disappeared, at least in my country, in the United States, they've disappeared and many of them may not come back. But I do think that there's a silver lining in this situation for the worker, which is that there are lots of jobs go unfilled in the hemisphere, which is the part of the world that I have experienced working in. And there is a mismatch between jobs that are available, these jobs that are going unfilled, and the skills that workers have. And what we found at the Trust for the Americas, if you can work with people and give them the skills they need for the jobs that exist, that's we get to a very happy place where where jobs are filled and people are working and generating income for themselves and their families.
You've worked with Microsoft now for, I think, 15 years,
yes,
which is a really long relationship, more than most people's relationships, really. The question is, why do you think that relationship has lasted so long? What do you think it is about the trust and about Microsoft that has put the two together, that has just turned into a perfect synergy? What is it about that combination that works so well?
I think that Microsoft is willing to take a chance on us. In 2004, the Trust was still sort of in startup mode, and our big project that was given to us by the Department of Labor was coming to an end. It was a program to use hardware and software to provide skills to people who had been disabled in the war in El Salvador. And when that project ended, we wanted to take this expertise and grow it and make it available to people throughout the hemisphere. And Microsoft took a chance on us and gave us funding to start 2 information and technology centers in Guatemala. And that program has now just expanded more than we could have ever hoped. We now have 225 labs and centers across the hemisphere. I think we're in 14 countries, and we've impacted lots and lots of people together. I think close to 2 million people with our Microsoft support. But if I had to say the most important thing about our relationship with Microsoft, beyond the financial support, which of course we need to do our work, really is the capacity building they've given us. We've grown up together with Microsoft. They've given us skills to learn how to be a business. And we've been able to pass along those skills to the local partners with which we work. And I think we all do a better job because of that training.
It's a relationship that you always have to work on. It's a relationship that you always renew. It's clear why you work together. And it's easy to see why Microsoft is in for this journey. What I'd love to know is what the future holds, because you've just reaffirmed your commitment. Both Microsoft and the trust have said, hey, we're working together and we want to do more in the future. The question is, what do you hope the future holds? What are you now trying to do beyond those 2 million that you've impacted, or what are you trying to improve?
Well, what we're trying to do together really is to focus, at least at the trust, all of our efforts in promoting the future of work and innovation. Because what we see in the hemisphere is that there are very high unemployment rates. The situation is getting worse with coronavirus. And unless people are prepared for the jobs of the future and have the skills to start small businesses, then the vulnerable populations, which is the group of people with which we work, are going to be left out of the equation. We see in my country here the social unrest, the results from a crisis of equity. People really need to be included, and that's our mission, social and economic inclusion for the vulnerable. And if I could just add, we've found that technology has really been a great equalizer. It levels the playing field, and people are able to get jobs and to improve their lives and start small businesses. And that really has a profound impact. We found at the Trust that the most important way that we could help promote social and economic inclusion was to give people the skills so they could generate income. And by generating income, they could help themselves, help their families, and that brings about profound change.
It definitely has. And, I look to organizations like yours. Brad has been kind enough to point me in that direction to places and spaces where I've met some of the most amazing people doing fantastic things. And once again, Brad has knocked out the park by introducing you to me. So thank you very much for that. I'm honestly honored to meet you, Linda, and I can't wait to see what additional work the organization is going to be doing.
Well, I hope that you can come and visit one of our centers.
Definitely.
We'd love to show you around, and I'd love to. I have lots of stories that I could tell you about the people who I've met and some of the lives we've impacted. Really, we talk about statistics, and statistics are important because it gives you a context for the impact, but really it's all about the impact you can have on one person and how that person will go on to impact others. And that's what it's all about.
Definitely. Hopefully the airports will be open. If not, Brad will loan me his HoloLens, and then I'll use that to virtually come visit you.
That would be terrific. We'd love to see you.
And I'll look forward to visiting as well. So thank you. Thanks to both of you. Thanks for your time today, Linda. Thanks as always, Trevor.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. As you can see, the work we're doing with nonprofits is really global in scope. But in addition to that global work, we recognize that we have a heightened responsibility to work with nonprofits here in the United States, to provide help and financial support to nonprofits that are led by people of color and serve communities of color. That's what we're doing. We're dedicating $5 million of our $20 million total of cash grants to provide assistance to these groups. We base this in part on not just what we're all thinking about and reading about and seeing in the news, but by what data is telling us as well. What we've seen this year is that job losses in the United States have been hitting the hardest in so many ways, the people who can bear it the least. We're seeing higher job losses for people with lower income. We're seeing higher unemployment rates for people of color. And we're seeing the same phenomenon with respect to women, as more women have been losing their jobs than men. So we feel we have a special responsibility to serve women of color, to serve people of color. We'll couple that work with nonprofits with current and future committed long-term efforts to use our voice as a company on public policy issues. And we're prioritizing 3 issues in particular. This has to start, we think, with new government support and more governmental innovation to invest in individuals, to create more skilling opportunities for individuals. It then should be coupled, in our view, with new government incentives for employers, especially as governments consider stimulus packages. This is the time when governments can change that trajectory that we've been living with for 20 years by providing employers with tax credits and other financial incentives to enable employers, perhaps most especially small employers, small businesses, so they too can invest in the training and new opportunities for their people. And finally, there is an opportunity for governments to put data and innovation to work by opening up public data sets and to innovate in government workforce training and the like. In all of these ways, governments have such an important role to play in building a better future. And that brings us back to what we'll do as well. We see ongoing technology innovation as playing a fundamental role, not just this year, but every year in the decade ahead to support every part of what nonprofits, governments, employers, and individuals all need to do. That's why we're taking a page out of what has worked well for us in the sustainability space. We're focused in 2020 on 3 skilling sprints. The first of these is what we're launching today. It will be followed by a second that will launch this fall, a sprint that is focused on providing new technology and tools to employers. And that, in turn, will be followed by a third sprint that will focus on what we're doing for students. But let me give you a bit of a sneak preview of what you'll see more this fall. The new technology and teams that we're going to make available to employers around the world. Let me invite Charlotte Yarkoni from Microsoft, the corporate vice president, who's leading this work. Charlotte?
Thanks, Brad. As people have shifted to remote work, customers increasingly have turned to collaboration and learning tools. Usage of Microsoft and LinkedIn products has increased significantly in the last few months, and companies need to ensure their workforces remain productive, agile, and competitive in a challenging global economy. While customers have told us they value skilling, they've also shared how challenging it can be to create successful corporate learning environments. There are a couple of themes we often hear. First, employers know they need to train and retrain employees to do current and new jobs well. But many companies struggle to connect learning to business impact, making it hard to justify continued investments in learning. Engagement is also a big challenge. Proactive engagement and learning at work tends to be low, and many employees don't have enough time or incentive to learn at work. There's also low cultural emphasis placed on learning, with research showing that only 1/3 of employees have leadership teams encouraging them to learn. At Microsoft, our goal is to empower employees to grow in their roles and their careers, which helps businesses thrive. We'll accomplish this by bringing learning into the natural flow of work for employees, instead of a separate task in their busy day. This means making it easier for employees, managers, and teams to collaborate, discover, and track their learning with the tools they already use. All levels of employees are already using Microsoft Teams for chatting, meeting, collaborating, and streamlining business processes. Now we're adding learning. Later this year, we will preview a new learning app in Microsoft Teams that integrates world-class content from LinkedIn Learning, Microsoft Learn, a customer's own content, and other content providers, all in one place. The content will range from formalized instructor-led trainings to microlearning, which allows you to gain skills by role or technology in bite-sized and interactive ways. The app will make it easier for employees to find and access relevant training content wherever they are, allowing them to have conversations around that content and earn certifications and recognition for their skills. It will also empower managers to assign and track learning progress, all while using Teams, a familiar tool they use every day. From new employees to managers to first-line workers, the Learning app and Teams will make it easier for employees to learn while they work. We're working hard to create this experience, and I'm excited to share an early preview of how this will come to life. Let's take a look.
Around the world, employees use Microsoft Teams as their hub for teamwork. Now we're extending Teams to include learning, enabling employees to learn within the flow of their work. Let's see how learning comes to life in Teams. The Learning app in Teams makes it easy to discover and share trainings and courses. Raj just joined the team. As he gets started, he opens Teams and sees a welcome message from his manager, Julia, along with a reply from a team member suggesting he check out the Our Trainings tab. In Our Trainings, the team has curated all of the trainings helpful to a new team member, including technical trainings from Microsoft Learn, courses from LinkedIn Learning, and company-owned learning content, all available in one easy-to-access place. Raj needs to decide which training to take first. He's able to see how many people at the company have viewed and liked each course. He selects a training and opens it in Teams where he can start the training, catch up on the latest conversation, and join the discussion. When Raj completes the training, he moves right back into the flow of his work in Teams. Managers facilitate the discovery of learning resources and foster discussion so that peer learning can flourish. To enable that, managers need tools to assign and track trainings. In her activity feed, Julia sees a LinkedIn Learning video posted by MJ, a fellow team leader. She clicks on the training and sees more details, along with like and assign options. She thinks the training will be beneficial and decides to ask two of her teams to take it. Without leaving Teams, she can easily assign the course to individuals or groups. Back in the Manage tab, Julia can see all of the learning materials she's assigned to different teams and individuals, as well as their completion status. The Learning app in Teams makes it easy to find and access micro-learning content, helping employees complete tasks efficiently. Richard is a first-line worker who has a question while working in a remote cell tower. He taps on a group chat in the Teams app and posts his question. His colleague Olivia sees his question and remembers watching a relevant training last week. She quickly searches for it in the Learning app, finds it, and sends it to Richard. Richard views the training and is able to complete it right from his phone. He receives credit for finishing the training and earns a certification card verifying his new skill, which he is easily able to add to his LinkedIn profile. At every level of your organization, the Learning app in Microsoft Teams with LinkedIn Learning and Microsoft Learn makes learning content more easily discoverable and facilitates social learning right within the flow of work.
Thanks to Charlotte, and thanks for that video. I think that gives you a good sense of what to expect in the months ahead. In so many ways, this is an important day and an important launch, but it's a whole lot more than that as well. It's a new beginning across Microsoft as we bring together the best of LinkedIn and GitHub and the other parts of the company. It's a new beginning as we focus on waves of technology innovation, the kind of innovation that will create what Satya described at the outset, a system of learning that will serve employees and individuals and employers as well. As we focus on the future, we know that we need to not only innovate in terms of new technology, but forge and strengthen new partnerships with nonprofits and governments around the world. We all have the opportunity to fill new jobs and create new chances for success for people everywhere. That's what we're determined to do. If we work together well, we can turn a year that had a bleak beginning into a decade that has a bright finish. We look forward to working with all of you. Thanks for tuning in.